Good morning. How are you today? Welcome, welcome. Namaste, namaste. Today we are studying the different things that have gone into creation of the dance in India in the second half of the 20th century. Here, the world of classical dance has groupings. The classicist, who sticks to the 1950s version of the grammar, vision, and dance of the fusions and dance of the creators. The coming together of multiple arts forms in the same body construct of the classical dances, which iconic dance scholar Dr. Kapilavatsyan refers to a neo-classical form for the simple form that they were clever reconstructions and hence only fictively classical. The moderates, who are more Catholic and who are willing to change with the time as long as the core essentials are retained, and the contemporaries who are daringly experimental. The experimentation has begun and happens in several areas. The foremost is in the telling of stories that move away from the traditional. This has been happening forever as the poets wrote about new themes and the dancers had new inspirations which kept the art fresh. In any case, the new and independent India had different concerns, and while creative dances got more scope with Shankar's labor and machinery, capturing the anguish of labor in a newly industrialized economy of independent India. Eventually, classical dances also got on the same experimental bandwagon. Interestingly, much of the experimentation along secular experimentation was driven by women. Many of them joined the arts after a sound academic background and were familiar with arts and literature, irrespective of whether this literature came packaged as classical text or as contemporary poetry. Maya Rao drew the attention of her Guru Shambhu Maharaj to the Shastra and textual compilations like Wajid Ali Shah's Banni and Najjo, both books that describe the practice of dance in his court. She also drew his attention to the abundance of poetry which till then had not been part of Kathak's repertoire. For the first time, she used for Kathak an Ashtapadi from Jayadeva's Geeta Govinda, Haririha Mugdhavadu, and the poetry of Tagore, the Varsha Ritu excerpt from Bhanu Shingir Padavali, which she used for Tagore's centenary events in 1960. In the 25 years between 1970 and 1995, Kathak dancer, guru and choreographer Kumudini Lakhia had created over 50 productions that had moved beyond tradition to modernity. In a piece in 1969, Variations in Thumri, Kumudini Lakhia had employed the projection of miniature paintings so as to draw out the link between the dance and the other arts. The theme of the 1971 piece, Duvidha, was the conflict between tradition and modernity. She refused to accept tradition as orthodoxy. Some of her other works of this period include Dhabkar 73, Drishtikon, Chayanat both in 74, Yugal 78, Atah Kim 81, Okhaharan 1990 and Sharvan 92. They were radically different from all that had been seen on the Kathak stage this far. Not only was the look minimalist, but the choreography was non-linear and abstract, in a sense going away from the much touted description of Kathak as the Katha kahe so Kathak kahelai. From the earlier, the boundaries of Bharatanatyam had been challenged by none other than Mrinalini Sarabhai, who had learned Bharatanatyam from Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai and Kathakali from Guru Kunjukurup. In 1949, she formed the Darpana Academy in Ahmedabad. It was here that she did her thematic experimentations. In her early work Manushya, using Kathakali and Bharatanatyam, she explored the eternity of the soul. In 1961, it was Tagore's Tasher and later she was to work on complete abstraction in Tattvam Asi. An empowered woman herself, coming from a family of string women, she worked on many women-oriented themes, Shakuntala, Meera, Chandalika being some of them. She also did some significant work on the environment through choreographies, aspirations and Ganga. Later, her daughter Mallika, trained in Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi and a performer activist, was to do bolder stuff in the genre of dance theatre with productions like Sita's Daughter that was outstanding. She also played the role of Draupadi in Peter Brook's Mahabharat. Senior Kathak dancer and contemporary of Mrinalini Sarabhai and Kumudini Lakhya, Rohini Bhate not just experimented with music and tal, but also introduced contemporary poetry. Kathputli, to the poetry of Bhavani Prasad Mishra, depicted the shackles women lived in and lived with. Uma Sharma created the dance drama Stree, hailed for its powerful thematic content and artistic presentation. A one-woman exposition, Stree, depicted the position of women down to the centuries and her search for an independent identity. Thus, the journey of classical dance to modern themes, even activist themes, had begun. Many fell victim to this trend, including Pandit Ravi Shankar, who in 1990 produced and directed the dance drama Ghanashyam in UK and travelled it also to USA. Ghanashyam told the story of a young dancer who became addicted to drugs. He did it because he had seen so many around him from the world of arts losing all to this addiction. The dance drama used mime, stylized gestures and dance. It starred the great Kathak dancer, the late Pandit Durgalal, as Ghanashyam, the Kathak dancer who succumbed to drug abuse. Other great artists who participated in the production were Bharatanatyam legends Shanta and V.P. Dhananjay. By then, even the Kathakali radically different themes were being adopted, taking advantage of the fact that this dance theatre form employed an aharya or makeup and costume techniques of character types. A series of Kathakali productions based on the Bible and Shakespearean plays were attempted by Kathakali choreographers. The International Kathak Center and Kathakali Center, headed by Sadanand Balakrishnan, had a big success in Othello. Even Kathak maestro Burju Maharaj produced a brilliant modern work in Lohe Ki Atma Katha that used the lighting pirouettes of Krishna Mohan Mishra to suggest the sharpness of the sword, and a whimsical choreography called film editing, in which, struck by the repeated forward and back play of the tape, he called upon the Kathak concept of Jode ke tukde to have the dance spin forward with one tukda and turn here back with the joda. In more recent years, a young crop of dancers has carried forward the challenges of working on different themes. Some of these opportunities came out from funding opportunities.
For instance, Bharatanatyam dancer Geeta Chandran worked on a whole range of social issues and was guided by the opportunities that came her way from the UN agencies. Some of her contemporary thematic choreographies include Her Voice and Imagining Peace, which articulated her conviction that dance can be a vehicle to build social bridges. In Her Voices, she worked with puppet artist Anupama Roy. Important in this category is her work on the theme of drug abuse, gender and environment. Her 2008 work, Mythologies Retold, addressed the burning issue of female feticide. She also did a piece aspired and inspired by Gandhi titled The Warp and Waft. The work explores key concept of Gandhian philosophy through the narrative lens of a female dancer. The choreography plays with the ideology through abstract movement as well as narrative gestures and incorporates both classical Bharatanatyam as well as contemporary movement theatre.
If the funding and performance opportunities propelled some of Geeta Chandran's work, Rama Vaidyanathan's work on birds, the dance of birds, an entire classical margam in Bharatanatyam, grew out of her closeness to friends who were bird watchers. The piece eventually stressed on the disappearing habitat of the birds. Change in themes were inevitable and is likely to be the direction in which dance will move in the future. Modern 20th century dancers cannot be shackled by a fixed past that is imaginary to boot. Choices are the essence of life today, and we cannot grudge our dancers this, can we? There may be some concern about how far is too far, about when a dance loses its stylistic core for its thematic push. But then the main goal, main agenda of the arts in India is transformative. Purpose, and as long as it creates rasa through the pathway of the Rasa Sutra, then it still fits the Indian definition of Natya. The comprehensive art of theatre, vast enough to be able to contain dance, music, dialogue, costumes, props and so forth. When Kathak dancer Aditi Mangaldas was selected for the Sangeet Natak Academy Award in 2012, it was for the category Creative and Experimental Dance. Aditi turned down the award, claiming that it was being offered for the wrong category. All her work, she claimed, has been in the field of Kathak, 80% in the classical idiom and 20% in the contemporary expressions, which is also strictly rooted in Kathak. Whatever changes one saw in her work, she claimed was harmoniously and homogeneously evolved, serving to help the stream of Kathak to expand, rejuvenate and be full of energy and life. Yet, even she has arranged her work in two sections, classical Kathak choreographies and contemporary Kathak choreographies. Amongst the formers are Footprints on Water, 1996, Uncharted Seas, 2006, Samvit, 2007, Seeking the Beloved, 2008 and Immerse, 2010. Among her choreographies in contemporary Kathak are Textures of Silence, 2003, Timeless, 2006 and Now Is, 2010. Her 2013 to work within is described as a mix of classical and contemporary Kathak. Thus, boundaries are neither held secret or sacred, nor flouted, but pushed organically by each contemporary dancer.
If at the helm of bringing in thematic change were women, then at the helm of bringing in a new language of dance that went beyond the familiar kinetics of that particular dance style was also a woman, Chandralekha. Initially trained in Bharatanatyam by Ellappa Pillai, after a few years she retreated from dance only to return in 1984 at the East West Dance Encounter organized in Mumbai by George Leshner, director of the Max Muller Bhavan. The reason Chandra had retreated from the world of Bharatanatyam was because she sensed a hypocrisy in it. She was seeking for older but truer echoes of cultural connectedness between body and soul. She found these connections with yoga and Kalaripayattu. She stunned her audience on that occasion with her choreography Tindana from 1961 work Devasasi Navagraha and a choreography she did in 72 with Kamadeva and an excerpt that she showed from her new work Primer Energy. This was just the beginning. In 1985, she came up with Angika, which included the sequences of the female dancer riding a male, recalling immediately the power and image of Durga. The kinetics of her works were driven by a search for spine, accounting for her choreographies justly by being described as resistive. Even Leelavati that she created in 1989 was done in minimalistic manner with a unique oral and movement signature. Subsequent works included Parana 1990, Sri 1991, Bhinna Pravaha 93, Yantra 94, Mahakal 95, Raga 98, Shloka 99 and Sharira 2001. By the end of the Bharatanatyam element had vanished, a bold and sensuality tinged primarily Kalaripayattu and yoga based kinetics. Chandra had succeeded in finding core connections. For Sharira, she used music that had certainly never been used for Bharatanatyam, the sonorous voice of the Gundecha brothers as they sang Jakata Janani Jwalamukhi, an ode to the power of feminine. In 1984, at the East-West encounter, another force was born that flashed like a comet across the sky. This was Manjushri Chaki Sarkar. Regrettably, the flash was short-lived and both she and the daughter Ranjabati, a brilliant dancer, died within a few years of each other. They live abroad for several years and training in modern dance. Manjushri returned to India to develop a new language of dance called Navanrityam. Navanrityam drew on the major classical dance forms along with Chau, Thangta and Kandyan dances forms for inspiration. It went to sculptures and images doing researches on kinetics to infuse energy into movements. Manjushri's dancers guild created unforgettable choreographies like Tomari Matir Kanya, a version of the Ghosh Chandalika, Aranya Amrit based on the legends of Bishnoi, a traditionally environmentalist community, Kronko Katha and Parama Prakriti, she said, remained Ranjabati's incomplete work. While Dancers Guild continues, that brilliantly creative energy at once had its now sadly dissipated. In 1984 turned out to be the turning point of dance in India, or more precisely, one of its most important milestones. If it was, Chandra had unleashed the Kundalini force lying dormant in dance. Post 84, so many more went exploring the energies and movement vocabularies of the other forms to multiply the styles that inhibited the one body. Daksha Sheth was established dancer of Kathak for 20 years, having learnt it from Kumudini Lakhia at her school in Kadam, Ahmedabad. It was only then that she entered training in Mayurbhanj Chau, Kalaripayattu and the aerial techniques of Malakhamb. including rope malkham, along with contemporary dance. This was to revolutionize her performance. Two things helped her to reach this end. The first was that she married a world musician, Australian Devi Saro, and the two worked in close collaboration to produce truly unique work. Secondly, she retreated into the recesses of Kerala, far from the maddening crowd, which permitted her to develop her work in solitude and without distractions. Since 1996, when she introduced aerial techniques, her work has developed and the advantage of another dimension as she choreographed along the horizontal and vertical axis. Among some of her most important works are Search for My Tongue 96, Sarpagati 97, Falling Agents 98, and an Indo-British production to commemorate 50 years of Indian independence, Bhukham 2001 and Sari 2010. At the start of this paragraph, the word Kundalini was used very consciously and deliberately, as Daksha's most recent work, Shiva Shakti 2012, draws from Tantric mysticism and is about the release of Kundalini. Italian actor dancer Liliana Sitaristi, recipient of Padma Shri in 2006 and the National Film Award for Choreography in 1995, has made India her home since 1979. I think it's going to be very sensible and understanding if you all can understand the dates and years, because then only you will understand the development and growth of dance in India. So, let us go further. Initially, she was trained in Odissi with Guru Kelucharan Mahapatra. Subsequently, she was trained in Mayurbhanj Chau for 6 years under Guru Sri Hari Nayak and the title of Acharya from Utkal Sangeet Mahavidyalaya in Bhuvaneshwar. From 1985, she has been choreographing using mixed language sometimes, Chau and creative, as she did in Narcissus 85, Panchabhuta 96, Jarjara 2003, which is based on the first chapter of the Natya Shastra, in which she additionally used Thangta and Tantra. Duet 2006, which is a blend of Chau, Odissi and creative movement. Liliana helped create Odisha's martial arts festival out of her love for the energetic kinetics of the martial arts practices. Navtej Johar was an actor before he was drawn to Bharatanatyam that he learnt at Kalakshetra and then with Leela Sampson at Sri Ram Bharatiya Kala Kendra. He studied at the School of Performance Studies at New York University. He has collaborated with some of the best international performance and music artists of the world and has danced at the most prestigious venues. He is open to new associations and has been part of Shiba Chachi's art installations and Deepa Mehta's film. He is known as a cutting edge choreographer whose work is layered and resonant. He was the performance director of the Queen's Golden Jubilee Parade in 2002. A long-time student of yoga, trained in Patanjali Yoga with TKV Desikachar. Since 1985, he has been teaching yoga and employs innovative ways of imagining and teaching it. He created an instant buzz with his works of 2000 Meenakshi, in which he theatrically illustrates the magical attributes of the Devi. In 2007, refined version of Fana Revisited, set as a duet with singer Madan Gopal Singh, and Ilangoval was a seamless coming together of the poetry of the north and the south. Another coming together was encapsulated in Johar's 2009 choreography Mango Cherry Mixed, performed as a duet with Japanese dancer Hiroshi Miyamoto, whom Johar described as a familiar other, as both were from different countries, yet both were from Asia. In grey is also a color commissioned in 2010 by Sangeet Natak Academy, Navtej Johar took a theme based on social inequalities based in South Africa, which pushed classical norms to the margins. Astad Dabu has been described as a pioneer of modern dance in India. He was trained in Kathak and Kathakali, and despite all the neutralization that happened in the developed unique kinetics post training in Martha Graham's and Jose Limon's dance techniques, and as an apprentice to Pina Bausch and Alison Chase of the Pilobolus Dance Company, they still appear in flashes in his work. He has also been inspired by dance in Japan and Indonesia, and with the martial act practice of Manipur's Thangta. By interweaving all these different elements, he has created a dance theatre style of his own, which successfully assimilates Indian and Western techniques. He has experimented with a varieties of forms, themes, concepts, collaborations, and performance spaces. In 1969, he danced improvised with Pink Floyd as a fundraising concert. In 1986, he choreographed for Maya Plicheskaya, the diva of Bolshoi Theatre Ballet Company. He also choreographed for M.F. Hussein's film Meenakshi, A Tale of Three Cities. He has worked with hearing impaired dancers and produced road signs with them. At Khajuraho, for the dance festival in 2000, he performed with Gundecha Brothers. Celebration is his work with Thangta artists. One of his most powerful choreographies for solo performance is Thanatomophobia. In 2009, he created Breaking Boundaries, and subsequently in 2012, he created Interpreting Tagore, based on the 4 poems of Tagore, with children of the NGO Salam Balak Trust. In this work, he went back to an old partnership with the puppeteer Dadi Padumji that had commenced in 1989. Padmini Chatur, principal dancer and choreographer of the Padmini Chetu Dance Company, was originally trained by Chandralekha, many of whose productions she participated since 1991. In the 10 years that she worked with Chandralekha, she performed in the productions Leelavati, Prana, Angika, Sri, Bhinna Pravaha, Yantra, Mahakal, and Sharira. Meanwhile, she presented her first solo, Wings and Masks, in 1999. This was followed by Brown and the duet Unsung, Fragility 2001 and Solo 2003. Her productions pushed premiere at Seoul Performing Arts Festival, SPAF 2006, and since has travelled to Brussels, Holland, Salzburg, Paris, and Lisbon. The reception to our works in India has been somewhat subdued, as it is believed that she breaks away too much from the norm. That doesn't bother her because she does in both style and content. Fragility is a case in a point that moved slowly, suggesting vulnerability but refused to be drawn into narrative.
Further, in all the above examples, more than one dance or movement art is contained in each dancing body. These are put in with great labor and training. Hence, the output is larger than some of the individual parts. However, in the recent experiment called Parkya in 2014, the tint of another was allowed on deliberately, but for a short while. This was Parkya, in which 3 dancers, Odissi dancer Madhvi Mudgal, Kathak dancer Prerna Srimali, and Bharatanatyam dancer Rama Vaidyanathan, dance individually each evening, but parts of each one's performances were choreographed by the other 2. Thus, each of the 3 soloists attempted to expand the boundaries of their art to experience each other's dance forms more intensely, recalling to mind the ancient thought and practice of transcending one's own body to enter the another parkaya, parkaya, parkya, parkaya. It is evident that just once the twin process of reform and revival operated simultaneously in Indian dance, especially with respect to classical dance. Tradition and modernity did walk hand in hand even in the apparently tradition bound India, especially in the later part of the 20th century. Yet, if modern trends are not known and not celebrated, the cultural policy makers need to be implicated for following a policy of categorizing art practices, arranging them hierarchically in watertight silos, and frowning upon deviation, and funding selected categories, because familiarity is a very comfort zone. You know all that, right? So, this is for your future, not only creativity, but your thought and your strength of conviction. Thank you. Bye.